Hello everyone. So today we will be discussing about Linux kernel. So this tutorial is basically for the beginners who are just beginners to Linux kernel or Linux, and the people who have just basic knowledge about Linux kernel or Linux OS. So today's agenda of discussion will be basic introduction to Linux, and after that we will discuss about architecture of Linux, what are the different layers in the Linux operating system, and the third chapter will be main feature of Linux, like what are the main features given by Linux to us, and the fourth will be introduction to Linux kernel, like what exactly the Linux kernel is, and other part will be different subsystem of Linux kernel, like what are the different subsystem of Linux kernel. So first slide show Linux main feature, which list out all the features supported by Linux. So the first feature is portable. So Linux believes in portability, like Linux runs on multiple operating system, or we can say Linux runs on multiple hardware platform. Linux runs on Intel platform, Linux runs on Qualcomm platform, Linux runs on Samsung platform, Linux runs on Broadcom platform, so it supports multiple platforms. So this is a very good features supported by Linux. And the second thing is open source. Linux kernel code or Linux operating system code is totally open source, means we can download the code for free and we can see the code whenever we want. We don't need to pay even a single rupee for that. And the third feature is multi-user. This feature means multiple users or multi-users or more than one user can use same operating system at the same time. So it is the responsibility of operating system to maintain the work of each user. And the fourth feature is hierarchical file system. Linux maintains a tree-like directory structure, or we can say file system. In Linux, each device or each hardware behaves like a file. So Linux maintains a parent to child relationship kind of tree, or we can say file system. And the fifth feature is security. Linux uses various different mechanisms to give security to the user or to give security to the whole operating system. It provides various mechanisms so that user can have their data secure, or there should not be harm to their database, or there should not be harm to their hardware. And the sixth feature is memory protection. Linux provide memory protections between user process and kernel process, and between each user process and each kernel process. Because of that, one process cannot access the memory of other process. So these kinds of protection Linux support. Other features is shared libraries. With the availability of static libraries, Linux also support shared libraries. Means libraries are shared between multiple processes, or multiple applications share the same library. So as I said, like Linux kernel is the open source. So there is one Linux kernel community which actually maintain Linux kernel, and each community member of the Linux kernel, or each community member is keep on enhancing the features of Linux. So whenever they do some modification in the kernel code, they submit their code on the mainline kernel. So to maintain the consistency, it necessary to maintain different kernel version so that we can take particular version whenever it required. So there are basically two types of kernel version. One is development version, another is stable version. Development version is the version which is actually in development state, which is yet to be stabilized. There is continuously developmental enhancement is going on this version. And the second thing is stable version. Stable version means this version is totally developed or changes are freeze now for this version, and this version is bit stable. So how we differentiate between these two versions? The thing is, Linux kernel version is represented by 3 numbers separated by dots. So first number represent the release number, and the second number actually tells whether it's a development version or whether it's a stable version. For development version, the second number will be odd number. For stable version, second number will be even number, and the third number actually tells us the exact release version number. So you can see the example like 2.5.54. So 5 here is the even odd number, so it means it's a development version. And you can see in stable version 2.2.50. So here 2 is the even number, which means it's a stable version. So these kinds of schemes we actually maintain. This slide show Linux architecture. So as you can see, our Linux is divided into two parts, or our Linux virtual memory is divided into two space. One is called user space and the other is called kernel space. User space is the space where actually all the user applications runs. What are the application you install in your Linux operating system, that all user space applications runs in user space. And kernel space is the privileged space, means it has the authority of using all the space of Linux. It can also use user space, it can also use kernel space, but user space cannot have access to kernel space. Kernel space is the space where actually our hardware related code runs, and this space we can have totally access to each of the resources of the system. So one by one we will discuss each layer of the Linux architecture. So on the top of the Linux architecture you can see user applications. So this layer represents all the user applications running in the system. So these applications use many of the functionality exposed by GNU C library. This library exposes many of the functions which is used by user applications. You take example of a C program which you write, you use printf statement, you use scanf functions. These all functions are exposed by our C library. And after that we comes into the kernel space, and in kernel space top layer is system call interface. System call interface is an interface which provides a mechanism to the user space so that they can request control access to the hardware resources from kernel. System call interface expose some system calls to the user space so that user space can use that syscalls to send the request down to kernel. So we can understand it this way, Suppose you are writing a C program. In C program you are using a printf statement. So printf statement is exposed by GNU-C library, and if you will go in GNU-C library and if you will see the implementation of printf, printf will internally use write syscall. So write syscall is defined here in syscall interface. So whenever you will call write from GNU-C library, this call will comes to syscall interface, and syscall interface will pass your request to kernel. So kernel is a core of operating system which actually manages all the requests coming from user space, which actually maintains all the resources of the system, and it has multiple subsystems which perform their own roles. We will discuss each subsystem of kernel in the coming slide. And after that we have architecture dependent kernel code, means it will contain our driver code, or we can say the code which is actually dependent upon the hardware, or which will actually manage the hardware. And after kernel space we have our actual hardware available in the system. Take example of USB, take example of physical memory, take example of camera. These are the hardware devices available in the system. So this slide is the same what we have discussed in the previous slide. So here you can see a high level overview of the kernel subsystem. This slide show what are the subsystems available in the kernel. So on the top layer we can see we have system call interface, which we have already discussed. It's an interface which exposes system calls to the user space. And after that we have process management. Process management is a subsystem which manages all the processes running in the system, or all the processes spending time in different states of their lifetime. This subsystem has the responsibility of scheduling the process, releasing the process descriptor, allocating the process descriptor. All these things are maintained by process management subsystem. Second subsystem is virtual file system. Virtual file system is the file system which provide abstract APIs to the user space application, so that they can use generic set of APIs instead of worrying about different kinds of file system attached to your operating systems. You can think in this way. At a time we might have multiple devices connected to our Linux operating system, and in each of the device we might have different kinds of file systems. So each of file system will have their own set of calls for perform some task. So it's very typical, or it's not a practical scenario to learn, or we can say to remember each and every call of each file system. So we maintain virtual file system which actually has the responsibility of taking request from the user space applications, whether it's open, read, write or close, and send that request to the respective file system. And the other subsystem is memory management. Memory management subsystem is the subsystem which actually manages memory of our Linux operating system. So as we have discussed earlier, Linux kernel provide different memory protection techniques. We maintain two space, one is user space, one is kernel space, and whenever some request from any of the process comes to access some memory or allocate some memory, this subsystem has the responsibility of or validating the request. It just check whether that particular process has authorizations to allocation of memory or access to that memory. If they have the access permissions, whether they have the right permissions for that memory. So these all kinds of responsibility are performed by memory management subsystem. And other subsystem is network stack. Network stack, whole network related stuff is maintained by network stack subsystem. Means you are browsing internet on your Linux OS, you are working with any kind of network, so these all are network related stuff maintained by Linux kernel. And the lower layer of Linux kernel is device driver. Device driver is a software program which has the responsibility of maintaining devices of your system. They has the responsibility of getting request from the user space through syscall interface and fulfill that request by providing them the control access to the hardware. So I can say these all subsystem of Linux kernel have broad meaning. So we will be discussing each and every subsystem in details in the coming tutorials. This whole slide explains all the subsystems of Linux kernel which we already discussed. So that's all was for Linux kernel introductions. I hope you like our video tutorials. So we request you to please subscribe for our videos. Stay tuned with us. Thank you. Thanks for listening our video.